Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso at the1916company.com for pricing. Today we discuss the second model from Romain Gauthier, the engineer turned businessman, entrepreneur, and watch father. We have the Prestige HMS Titanium, HMS for hours, minutes, and seconds. This was the follow-up to the HM, a more sophisticated watch that still follows the aesthetic codes established by the initial model while adhering to the finest traditions of finish, materials, and quality in Gauthier's home, Switzerland's Vallée de Joux. Now, the timepiece here is the HMS Titanium. So Prestige HMS is the model, Titanium is the variant. 43 millimeters in diameter in grade 5 titanium. It is 11.8 millimeters thick and from lug tip to lug tip, 50.2 millimeters with a broad and proportional 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. This watch was made back before the arrival of the Continuum and the C sports watches. And this was back when Gauthier was building dozens of watches per year, not hundreds. And it really demonstrates what can be done with a watch when scale is not a goal. This is the kind of watch that's built slowly and beautifully and better for it. It is large. It has a lot of presence on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. It's fairly flat, being under 12 millimeters thick with a generously sloped case flank. It will slide underneath the cuff. Now, because the lugs are just over 50 millimeters from side to side, it's a fairly large watch. So I'm going to recommend this physically for a wrist of my size or larger, so 16 centimeters circumference and up. One more time, here's your down the barrel shot. The strap is best described as anthracite, somewhere between black and gray. I'd say it's more black than gray. It has a matte finish, large rectangular scale alligator leather. So when you have large rectangular symmetrically shaped scales, you're looking at a very impressive and expensive cut of the beast. There is some stuffing or bolstering to give it volume. We have a contrasting stitch, and then we have a folded edge with calfskin on the bottom. You can see Romain Gauthier factory strap, no crimping, no gouging. And it is matched with a Gauthier pin buckle. And I love how we have references to interior angled bevels even on the buckle itself. You'll see more of them on the watch. And take note of the differential finish on the different planes and facets of the buckle. Attention to detail is strong with this one. It also uses an elevated bridge, which means that the bridge is elevated over the prongs at the side. So when the strap is inside this buckle, it sits inside flush and it doesn't add height on your wrist. So really thoughtful. You could see a super sharp break between lug and case flank. This is the kind of thing you can do when case construction is slow going. And you can even see that there's a concave inward inflection to the lugs on each side. You can see how they sort of bow inward, and they have that concave mirror-like quality. Case flanks, black polished, lug hood, satin finished for contrast. You can see that there is both a concave and a convex facet to the bezel. It features both. Grade 5 titanium is wonderful because, like Grade 2, it's lighter than steel and hypoallergenic. Unlike Grade 2, Grade 5 is also harder to scratch than standard 316 and 904L steel used in conventional watches. So this is light and it's very resistant to marking. You can see that the watch has such a symmetrical case because all of the winding and setting is done through this case back crown. So I am now using it to wind, and when I pop it up, very easy to do. Now I could set the watch. Unlike a lot of case back winders, this one is absolutely easy to grip and operate. Dial side. We do have some lume. You might be surprised here, but we actually have a little bit of luminescence. Not every dress watch has that. And then we've got a number of elements that are all understated. You can see matte finishing is the rule on this dial. So we have the chapter ring outboard featuring more symbolic than functional indices for the minutes and the hours. And then on the dial itself, you can see that we have the cardinal numerals for the hours at the four corners, 12, 3, 6, and 9. But we also have an individually calibrated minute scale featuring individual 5-minute markers, which is an unusual combination. Take a look at the hands, both for the seconds and for the hours and minutes. You can see they're matte finish. The movement itself The manual wind, caliber 2206, has been matte finished and media blasted on its upper facets. You can see Gauthier's unique circle within a circle wheel design. Gauthier makes many of the small parts of the movement, including, among other things, the balance, the escapement, and the wheels. Gauthier, partly owned by Chanel. You'll find these same Gauthier-style wheels in some of the Chanel high horology watches because Gauthier does the engineering and parts fabrication on those. You can see the motion works just visible underneath the hands, the system that drives the hands. So we have the minute wheel pinion, and the hour wheel. Gauthier also using proprietary screws that can take more torque than a conventional flathead to allow greater security of the components, but with less risk of stripping the screws. 22 joules, manual wind, free sprung for durability, set using a variable inertia balance. All the timing is done using variable inertia eccentric screws on the balance rim. So very precise and shock tolerant. 60-hour power reserve. You could see that there's a black polished click. There's snailing on the ratchet wheel as well as the barrel cover. We have more of these Gauthier wheels, and you can see that they're internally mirror beveled, which is deeply impressive. The bridges here are blackened, and the base plate is media blasted. You could see Côte de Genève, beautiful waves with luminescent sweeps and shade gradients. Even in black, they stand out and they pop. All screw heads black polished. You could see that the cover for the escape wheel, that has been mirror polished and is made of steel. We have interior angles. In fact, we have many interior angles. Remember I mentioned when we talked about the buckle, this is where the payoff happens. A lot of Geneva seal movements do not feature even one interior angle. Not only do we have a multiplicity of sharp creases where bevels meet here, but they are incredibly deeply drawn, and like some elaborately finished watches, Gauthier is using thicker bridges so the bevels can be drawn broader, and everything you see is among the finest possible. You can even see that the number plate has been freehand engraved, as has this little note about the region of origin, Vallée du Jeu, as well as the jewel count, freehand engraved. This is as good as it gets in terms of finish. Now, water resistance, not much. It's 1 ATM, so you really don't want to subject it to much more than light rain or splashing. But you've got a Gauthier Continuum sports watch if you want more water resistance. This one is for fun and elegance, high and dry. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.